Welcome back to Starkiller Base. Today we have the round 5 featured match from the Black Knight Games Regional. Looks like we've got Andrew on the left here playing against Brian. Andrew's got his eHan deck, and he's brought the Starship Graveyard to the table. Brian's running Tarkin's Sister, and he brought the Power Trench, which is the one that allows you to turn a die to any side when you claim.
Yeah, that's dirty.
So the players are just finishing their mulligans here. We saw Andrew in the last round with his eHan deck, and it did rather well.
I have not won a single roll today. This deck usually wins rolls.
Looks like Andrew won the roll-off, and we'll see which battlefield he chooses. Having 2 shields to start is always nice. It's that 4 hit point delta.
No one ever picks mine.
So it looks like, looks like Andrew took the Power Trench as the battlefield, and he's taking some shields. And they're going on Ray, because I guess in a eHan deck it's harder to get the shields on Ray, so you might as well load them up there. Every ambush card that you play, which looks like he's got several in hand, will give eHan a shield. So we got an Ancient Saber coming down to the 7th Sister. The Tarkin 7th is an interesting deck because you basically load the 7th Sister up while Tarkin's power action is doing some damage. Because the problem is if you put all your upgrades on Tarkin, then your opponent kills Tarkin and you lose all the upgrades and the power action. Plus, you end up with things like Heirloom and that sort of thing that can redeploy to Tarkin when he dies. So Ray's getting a Vibro Knife, which should give eHan a shield. So Andrew has 2 actions here. We'll see what he does with them. Looks like he's just going to roll on Ray. And he forgot the shield on eHan again, looks like. So he's hoping for some combination of melee damage that he can resolve immediately, I suppose. And looks like he got it. There's a 1 and a +2 there, which is not a bad start. It's about as good as you're going to get on Awakening's Ray there with a Vibro Knife. So 3 go into the 7th Sister. Both players have their own little collapsible die trays here. Dice trays. Looks like we got a 1 melee, a blank, and a resource. So that's not terrible. We got two die sides with the same value and the same symbol. So Tarkin can use his ability on that, but generally you want to use it on stuff that doesn't roll damage. So eHan comes in here with a 2 disrupt and a blank. So let's see if Andrew will remember his eHan triggers this time. Because when you're dealing with a 20 hit point deck, getting an extra 4 or 5 shields out of eHan's ability can definitely help out. In comes Tarkin. Gets the 2 discard and a 2 focus, so definitely gonna be able to do some power action this turn. And if Andrew's got no money showing and not a lot of options for die control aside from Loth Cat, I was gonna say. So the 2 disrupt goes away and the 2 focus goes away. Definitely a good choice. I guess when you've got a board full of blanks and whatnot, then Loth Cat's not so painful. But I definitely wish that Heroes had something closer to He Doesn't Like You, considering that one you're trading your worst die for your opponent's best die, and Loth Cat you're trading your best die for your opponent's best die. Now, at times when your best die is not very good and their best die is amazing, it's still great, and it's hard to argue about 0 cost removal. But, you know, it could be better. So looks like Brian's making Andrew dump 2 cards. So he's gonna minimize that reroll. Ooh, a DL and a truce. That's kind of rough. That's 2 shields there that Andrew could have had.
You have 4 cards in hand still?
4 cards in hand still.
I would have been tempted to just go truce and then play out the DL and make Brian get rid of one of his dice and lose, and gain 2 shields on eHan there. Rerolls aren't doing much for you when your dice look like this, but you never know. Ray doesn't really do much with a single die by herself, and but eHan can definitely get better. It seems a shame that Andrew didn't use his overwrite this turn. So there we go. We got a +1 resource and a 3 for 1, which is classic. So without any resources or cards, Brian can definitely take his time and do what he likes here. Hasn't used the power action yet. Andrew claimed and blanked the sister die, which allows him to use the power action. That was not a good play. I guess I would have left it on the resource there, but
I had a way to turn it anyway.
Okay, good.
Such is life.
A little better, actually.
I mean, with 3 cards in hand, Brian could have probably done something to reroll and get some damage or some usable sides out of there. But
Do that again.
definitely not a good play to make the blanks when Tarkin hasn't used his power action yet.
Man, it's a good turn for you.
Keep my hand.
I'm not sure if he forgot or didn't know. I mean, there's some people that don't know that you can use the power action with 2 blanks, but blanks are a symbol. They just are not resolvable.
First things first.
So we go into the start of round 2 here. We got a 4-speed for Ray. And that gives Ray her action. Let's see what else Andrew can come up with here. Always a good play to do the roll in Han and resolve the 2 disrupt first action. So Ray comes in with a holdout blaster. Let's see if Andrew remembers his shield this time.
Can't pull that freaking combo off.
Got a 1 melee, a blank,
I mean, I'm rolling one.
and a handful of stuff. Another +2 melee, a focus, and a +1 resource. So that's Ray doing Ray things there. So you can put another 3 into the 7th sister there, which is not bad. It sort of makes all of Brian's mitigation cards seem not so useful. But at least he can save them for rerolls. So the 7th sister comes in, 1 disrupt, a +3 melee, and a focus on the secret droid die there. So if Andrew's not careful, he's going to take 5 damage. He has no money and no... So he rolls in Han, gets a 3 for 1 and a 1 resource. So he'll have money to mitigate that. Interesting. I'd be looking at maybe focusing. Okay, interesting. I probably would have focused one of the 7 sister dice to a 2 melee to try to get that 5 off before Andrew can get some money in. So Dark Council comes down on Tarkin, and Andrew takes $2, and now he can afford to mitigate things.
Turn this to a blank to turn that to a blank.
Brian manipulates to blank the Han die.
When you don't mind having blanks, it becomes real nice.
It's very true.
Could have been a dead 7 sister this turn if things went differently there, with a +2 on the hollow blaster and the 3 on Han. So Andrew's discarding to reroll.
Blank and a +2.
I see a +2 on the holdout blaster there, and a blank on Han, so he can definitely get back up to 5 damage again.
Yep. Frick, I forgot my shields from Han again.
Or 4, I guess you could do. Starkin comes in with a double focus, a blank, and a single focus. So Brian can definitely do a lot of damage this turn with Tarkin's ability and everything else. So Andrew's going to put him to the test there and focus the... Oh, never mind. You can always put your opponent to the test, focus the Han die to a 3 for 1, and see if Brian would use both disrupts to get rid of the money. It saves both players some damage. There's some manipulate. Wow. Manipulate is actually a pretty good card with Tarkin because you can make a second blank and then just use the blanks for Tarkin's ability. So Andrew's back to square one again here. He should probably look at re-rolling or something. I'm not sure what's in his hand here, but Brian definitely has a lot of dice out there, and they can do some pretty serious things.
Attaboy.
Not sure I'd pitch Quick Escape.
You're a great smuggler.
I mean, between the Ancient and the 7 Sister dice, that's 5 damage they could get rid of.
Each an opponent's character's advantage. Wow, that's a new one. Good for indirect, isn't it?
So Battle Fatigue gets played and removes Han's die. Battle Fatigue is the one that allows you to remove a die if all of your opponent's characters have damage. And in a Tarkin deck where you're doing 4 indirect a turn potentially, you're definitely going to have damage on all your opponent's characters for the most part.
I really like this deck.
I don't. Can I launch an official complaint somewhere?
Andrew's talking about how he does not enjoy that. So we got 4 indirect coming in on his side.
I don't like this at all.
With Ray with all the upgrades and Han with the better dice, it's a tough call, but I'd definitely be splitting stuff. Although, with the double focus there, Ray could be dead this turn. Or Han, frankly.
Kick my ass here.
It's not looking good for the Han Ray deck so far here. Unless Andrew's got... Surely if you're pitching Quick Escape twice, you've got some sort of mitigation, I would hope. Nope. Okay. So Han gets his shield.
And ambush action, sorry.
And then what does he do with his ambush action? Probably
I will claim to turn that
claim and turn that double focus to a blank.
this time. It's good.
Given that Tarkin's already used his ability, that's a good choice.
Reroll all of these.
Force Illusion gets discarded for a big reroll here. And Tarkin gets a single focus, which is going to be enough to change to the double focus and put 7 damage into somebody. So Ray could be dead here
2 focus.
if Brian does it that way. Yeah.
2 melee, 2 melee.
2 and a 2. There's 7 damage.
Or he's got 10 health.
I still think it's the right call to kill Ray.
So 7 would get him to within 1 life, or I can kill.
We'd leave Han with 1 hit point left, or kill Ray right out, and Han with a vibro knife and a holdout blaster.
5 doesn't do
And turn off all the
I'll kill Ray.
spot of blue stuff, or blue character only in the deck. So now the second 4 speed is a dead card, and if there's any lightsabers or anything like that that are a blue character only, they're not going to get played. So that's pretty rough there. I mean, Han still has the burst potential to kill a 7th sister, although it is a bit trickier when she's got that ancient saber on her.
Happy with that.
But we'll see what happens here. If the 7th sister goes down, Han with a couple of weapons versus Tarkin is actually a favorable matchup, but if Andrew can't kill the 7th sister probably this turn, he's going to be in a world of hurt here, it looks like.
Okay. Now that power action is a lot scarier than it was a second ago.
He can afford second chance and all that sort of stuff, but then he has no money for mitigation. Looks like he's got a hasty exit in hand, so that's something he can do, a truce in there. So he'll definitely have some shields and some mitigation that cost nothing. With truce in your hand, you can always go down to no resources and then play truce, get the shield on Han, and then use the money you just got from truce for mitigation. So definitely Andrew has some options here. I think the last truce got discarded from Tarkin's side, which put a bit of a crimp in Andrew's plans turn 1. So Andrew's playing 3 straight up for the second chance there.
I can't imagine why you'd want to play that.
I don't know.
It's got a DL in hand. It could have played the DL out
I would play
and then rolled in Han and overwritten with second chance later, but that always works. Let's see. I'm not sure what ended up under the glare there. It looks like a grenade there.
so it's size for the power action too.
Oh yeah, well said.
The neat trick about the grenades in a Tarkin deck is that you only have to pay for them or get rid of them if you resolve the dice. But if you use them with Tarkin's ability, you do not have to pay for them. And given that Tarkin has indirect sides on his dice, you can use them relatively frequently. So, somebody's gonna roll in here eventually, right?
I will roll
Maybe.
sister.
Looks like the 7th sister's coming in here first. We got a focus, a shield, a blank, and a disrupt. So the focus is always nice, but that rest of that is not very good. Of course, with the focus, once Tarkin comes in, you can turn that into a whole bunch of focus, which is pretty nice.
Spend 1 to overwrite the DL.
There it
Gets
is.
me another shield, and you get rid of a die.
And I
Your
get
choice.
to pick it.
You get to pick it.
There's the DL and the truce play. Guess that could work too.
Nice pull of an action in the queue.
Now that Brian actually has some dice in the pool, the DL's secondary effect of having your opponent have to choose or remove a die is in play.
Roll Han.
So Han's going to roll in here with his 3 shield now. He gets a 2 ranged, a 2 for 1, a 1 resource, and a blank. So he has the potential to kill the 7th sister in a couple of actions, but
From mislead on the. Yep.
mitigation and everything else is going to probably stop that there.
Yep. Get it out of there.
So I think I'd go for a reroll here. That DL has pretty significant damage potential. I'm not sure I like Andrew leaving himself with no money for mitigation at this point, but I suppose that with the disrupt side out on the 7th sister, Brian could fix that real quick if he was worried about it. That's one of the problems with Truce in my mind, is that it's a nice card. It can do some interesting stuff, like when you've got a 3 for 1 and a +2 and your opponent says, oh, that's cool, you've got no money, I'm safe, and then bam, blowout happens. But the problem is, like Andrew's, he's played a couple of upgrades in a Truce and rerolled, and now he's got 1 card left. And it's either mitigation or he's doing 1 damage this turn. But there's so many dice out there on Brian's side that doesn't really matter.
Dirty.
It's really hard to decide what to mitigate when you've got a die that has a 2 focus on there.
Okay.
Can't get over that hump. That ancient lightsaber, I'm gonna use
Put one into the Seven Sister, which is unfortunately not a very impressive turn. Unbreakable is an interesting include in a eHan deck for Awakenings. It definitely works. I mean, you usually have a decent amount of shields, and at worst in this meta, you can always Unbreakable to get rid of a special when you have no shields, so it's not too bad. Interesting. Oh, I see. Yep. So some focus chaining. I'm assuming that he focused the Dark Council to a 1 focus, so that he can use the power action on the Dark Council with the droid there. So Andrew's playing Hasty Exit to get rid of one of the 2 melees. Ooh, here comes Frighten to take away Han's shields. I think that it's a good thing Han's got second chance down here, because that's looking like 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, which is lethal. Andrew can claim, obviously, which wouldn't be bad. Claim and set that Seven Sister die to a blank.
I'll take the resource.
I'll do 2 damage.
I'm not sure what's going on here. Shouldn't Andrew have an action? Oh, okay.
Like that.
Yep. Okay.
Interesting.
Man, that deck is impressive.
I didn't catch what he did there. Instead of claiming and turning the 2 melee to a blank, but definitely if he had the opportunity to do so, it would have been better, because then Brian would have to pay to resolve that grenade, which he could not afford to do. So he just wouldn't resolve it, and Han would have 2 less damage on him, which would be alright. So this is not looking good for our Savvy Smuggler here. With that Ancient Saber down on the Seven Sister, it's going to be hard to kill her, unless you can get a decent roll here with no mitigation on Brian's end. So the X8 comes out, Han gets a shield. And Andrew's down to 4 cards in hand. You see a riposte in there. That would have been a nice little surprise if he had some shields left, but that's not happening, unfortunately. If he can put 2 damage into the Seven Sister, he might be able to surprise Brian with a riposte, but with Tarkin with dice out there, it'll be hard for Tarkin's power action not to take out Han when Han only got a few hit points left. There's Isolation to get rid of that 3.
Yep, get rid of that one.
Again, Andrew needs to go for a reroll here, because those dice have a much higher top end. Oh, Andrew's keeping the pressure on by turning the X8 to a 3. Brian can always just... Oh, there's a doubt. That's a good play on that die. It doesn't have many sides that you want to resolve.
Come on, 3 for 1.
But it could be it.
Lucky bastard.
So you rolled it back into the same side, and that Seven Sister dies. So that could be the break Andrew needs to pull this one out. We'll see. It was definitely the right play on Brian's side, although if he had a different mitigation, it might have been a bit better. But I mean, 1 in 6 chance of that Seven Sister dying. Andrew is definitely happy to see that happen, because he needed that to make the comeback here. So Andrew has effectively got 2 hit points left on Han, and then another 5. So it's basically 2 power actions from Tarkin, and Han is dead without any sort of mitigation or shielding. Tarkin's taking his first damage. 8 hit points left. So if you've got mitigation in hand that costs money, it might have been worthwhile to take that resource first before doing the damage. But so Tarkin comes in, 2 indirect, 1 indirect, 1 focus, 1 blank, 1 blank. So you see the power of Tarkin's ability on blanks. It's pretty nice. So he can do 7 damage this turn effectively without even resolving that focus. He could focus the grenades to a larger indirect as well. So if Andrew has no mitigation and doesn't use the claim ability on the battlefield, it could be over this turn. And one thing to note about Tarkin's power action is right now, if Brian used the power action, Andrew would only be able to assign the damage to Han before death, or before the second chance kicks in, so there will be no extra damage rolling over into the post second chance situation there. Interesting. So Andrew's using riposte to put a damage on Tarkin. It's a dangerous game he's playing when he's got that few hit points left, but okay.
1 indirect. Pop the second chance.
So the second chance now gets popped with 1 damage instead of the 2.
Then I'll do 2 indirects.
2 more goes into Han,
Still resolving indirect.
puts him to 7,
Because they are separate dice.
and it is not looking good.
So each die gets distributed.
With that focus out there, the
I'm pretty sure. We can double
the
check
trench
that.
won't do anything
Dealt with indirect
to keep him alive, so this looks like it might be over.
Dice resolved individually. I think it works with indirect too.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So yes, the players are just having a discussion here about how the indirect works. You do resolve 1 die at a time, just like any other die type, or symbol rather. So he resolved the 1, which he did not pay for, but he has the money there. And then after the second chance is triggered, he resolved 2 more. Now he's got the 2 blanks for the power action, which will kill Han.
Yeah, if you have mitigation. Yeah. Mitigation.
Even if he claims the trench and turns something to a different side, then the Dark Council die can focus it back to a blank to make that power action fire off again. So unless Andrew's got some sort of mitigation in hand here, he's got Unbreakable in hand. Unfortunately, he resolved the 3 instead of taking the money first. That's the GG. So Tarkin 7th comes out on top, and stay tuned for the next episode of our Black Knight Games Regional coming soon. Thanks for watching Starkiller Base.